Alrighty, we should be live. Let's see and make sure this is all okay. Alright guys, well I've never done this before, so bear with me if there's a few problems. Is the audio all okay? Anybody who's in the chat now? If you guys could let me know. I've never done this before, so I think I've got everything about as good as I could get it. When I used to do the Tech Lounge, Brian would do all this stuff, so I've just been trying to learn it the best way I can. Yeah, everything's fine. I don't have two displays, so if I look over here, it's because that's where my laptop is. So I'm just trying to read off the chat there, but I thought I'd do a fun video like this. I was going to make a standalone video talking about all the mining stuff, but I thought I'd rather do a live stream because then we can talk and make it more like a discussion. You know, I try to make my channel as interactive as I possibly can. So, yep, that quality is looking pretty good to me. That's readable. Yep, people can read the articles we'll look at. Okay, where was Teddy? That's a good point. Here he is. I can't forget my co-host. He can just sit just here. Alright, the man, the myth, the legend. I know. Single-handedly saved tech in New Zealand. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Okay, so, cool. We got a few people in now. That's awesome. That's what I wanted to see. So, this stream is to talk about a pretty hot topic right now. It's sort of like three hot topics, which is cryptocurrency, you know, mining, GPU prices, and memory prices, because in some ways they're all interconnected. And I thought this would be a cool video because a lot of people talk about, you know, what's causing it. Is it one thing? You know, it's a big lot of lots of different things. But what a lot of people, you know, are talking about what the problem is, but not a lot of people are talking about how you could actually fix it. Now, of course, there's not much, you know, I can do about it, but it'd be interesting to just talk about it and see maybe if there was an idea that, or something that, you know, places could implement, because it seems right now that no one really knows what to do to fix the problem. I see retailers doing a little bit. There is an article I wanted to talk about, but that's basically what I wanted to do here today. Okay. All right, that's looking quite good to me. Yeah. Okay, so let's start out with mining itself. Now, I'm sure you guys are more or less aware of what it is by now, so I don't really need to explain it, but you can mine different things, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, different things, and basically that gives you some of that currency you're mining or hashing, and then that currency is worth something, especially Bitcoin right now has been going up quite nicely. It did drop off, but yeah, there's been a bit of movement. They're quite volatile generally, but of course to mine it you need a lot of GPU horsepower primarily. You can do it off a CPU, but it's not ideal. So and you can buy dedicated what's called ASIC mining machines, but and not a lot of people go for them, for the sense that the idea being is that you buy a graphics card, a gaming graphics card. Let's have a look. See, the top one here right now is the GTX 1070. So people are going out and they're buying loads of them. As you guys have known, you look at your local store in the US or New Zealand or Australia, it hasn't been so bad here, but it's still bad. And basically, the reason why people are going for the GTX 1070s and stuff is the idea being that even if the cryptocurrency falls down, they'll still have these graphics cards in which to sell afterwards. If you buy the standalone ASIC mining machines, they're, you know, if it all crashes down, what are you really going to do with it? So that's why things like the 1070. So this article I thought I'd bring up. And then we'll go into my opinion on it a bit more. So right now the GTX 1070 is the main one miners are going for. Now, even if you're not interested in mining, this is good to know because it's sort of like the cards to avoid because you're probably going to be paying quite an inflated price for them. So the GTX 1070. So we have a look here. Generally pretty good. Yeah, see 30 on the hashes there. So that's pretty good. Mega hashes. I believe that's what the M stands for, mega hashes. I'm still learning about all the cryptocurrency stuff, guys. I think I'm getting there, but considering I've only really been studying it for the last sort of week or so heavily. So that's quite good. The other thing they always look for is the power consumption, the power efficiency. That's a big thing because obviously that eats into your profitability if the card's using a heap of power. So power draw 150, I'd say most people, they generally will move the power limits down and stuff, so you could probably get that power draw down a little bit, maybe to like 125 or something like that. Of course, it gives some memory there, and they usually overclock them as well. Next one, RX 580. So this is an obvious one. This is one that's been very, very popular. Miners, obviously power draw is a bit higher, but the hashing's good on there. See 29, you'd probably see that go up to over 30 with some decent overclocking. But of course you get the power draw there. Now this is obviously different, depending on what you're mining, it can be different for different cards. Different ones can be better. Of course the RX 480, more or less the same thing as the RX 580 for mining. We have the Vega 56. Now this will use actually a decent amount of memory, but you will get some pretty good mining speeds out of it. And then of course the 1080 Ti, which is going to be really, really good. 32 here, mega hashes, and that's but you got the 250 watt power draw. You can maybe knock that down a little bit. And the 1070 Ti, I probably wouldn't recommend this one because it's more or less the same thing. I mean, memory wise it's exactly the same as a 1070, so I don't know why this one's here, because everything I had read and the people I've spoken to about it have all said that the 1070 is not ideal for that. So those are the type of ones. I would say basically from everything I've read, your 1060 is going to be very, very popular. 1070 is going to be popular. 1070 Ti, maybe a bit, but I would say that's less so. The same with the 1080. Generally, I know with Ethereum, I believe it actually does worse than a 1070 in terms of the mining. So that's quite interesting. And of course, the 1080 Ti does very good. And the Titan V, the Volta, does exceptionally good. That'll sort of do like 3 times what a 1080 Ti will do. But of course, it costs $3,000 US, so not many people are going to be touching that. So that gives you an idea of these cards. So as to my opinion about mining itself, I know that a lot of tech YouTubers have been talking about this. And that's... I watched Jay's video on it where he talked about you know, how he reckons it's ruining PC gaming and all this, and he wouldn't ever do it. And then I watched Logan's reply video on it where he basically said, hey, like, this is a, you know, this is like easy money, more or less. Why wouldn't you get on it right now? You may as well. And that he basically accused Jay of just giving in to what the fans wanted him to hear, what'll, you know, make him popular on Reddit or anything like that. And so I saw both sides of it. And a lot of people have been asking, like, what my opinion is. And I was going to make a standalone video with Steve over at Hardware Unbox, but unfortunately, he had a power cut the other day, so we couldn't do it then. It's just been a bit of a hectic time for getting our schedule so that we could do it. But it's fine to do a live stream anyway, because then I can talk to you guys and we can make it more of a discussion rather with Steve. I was going to make it more like a standalone video like we did last time, where it was just me and Steve discussing it. So yeah, my thought on the mining thing is this. I would say I'm a pretty big free market guy, and I just see it as people are just gonna mine. They just are. If there's money to be made and they see it as a profitable investment, then they're just gonna do it. Do I understand why gamers are very frustrated? Of course I do. I have friends of mine that are looking to buy graphics cards right now. They hit me up. They go, Kevin, I want to buy a new GPU. What should I buy? And I just say, dude, like, the prices are so inflated right now. It's just not a good deal. So I would caution a lot of you to buying a gaming GPU just right now because of that reason. And that's basically how I see it. I understand why gamers are upset. I would be too if I was in the market for a GPU right now. I really would be. But at the same time, I don't think putting the blame squarely on the miners is 100% the right thing to do, in the sense that the GPU prices going up is not purely because of them, and that's what I wanted to discuss in this. And I want to also discuss it with you guys as well. So just to talk about it and see what you guys thought about the whole thing. But that's where I sort of fall on it. I think this is something that's going to go on, but it's not. The miners are definitely causing a big, they're adding to the shortage, but you can't blame them 100% for it, because there's more things behind the scenes. They're sort of just like an easy scapegoat right now that everyone can point to and say, oh, they're the ones causing it. But there's kind of like industrial reasons as well behind the GPU shortage, which is why the prices are going up. And there's price gouging going on like crazy. Prices don't just go up by themselves. There's always a reason for it. Sometimes justifiable reasons, like costs go up, so of course the prices have to go up and to reflect that. But there's often times where the costs don't go up. Maybe sometimes costs might go down, and yet the prices will go up, and that's what we call a price gouging. So let's start with memory then. Memory prices, because that's a good place to start. So a lot of people have been talking about this. Why are RAM prices through the roof? So this is an Extreme Tech article written by Joel Heriska. Is that right? Heriska. Joel Heriska. Hope I'm getting your name right. So here's a good graph here. So this shows Newegg pricing in the red here. That's the main one you want to be looking at, not the marketplace pricing. So this was for a DRAM kit. This was a report by Gamers Nexus, so I watched the GN video about it. Steve's been covering this very, very nicely. So you can see this trend going up here. Now, what has been causing RAM to go up at this rate? You see from where it's at its lowest point in 2016, sort of going into July, you see it starting to creep up. And then, of course, where we are now in nearly February, and it's just gone up, and it's probably going to keep going up. So what is causing this? Well, it seems like there's a lot of reasons behind this. The first one is that your Apple phone, especially the newer ones, I don't have the new one, but the newer iPhone 10 or iPhone X, as some people call it, and just all the phones in general, a lot of them are running more and more memory in them. And Apple has been buying up supplies of memory at a high rate, and so that's left less and less for everybody else. Also, the fact that with them the rise of SSDs and stuff like that, your M.2s and that, there just seems to be such a huge demand for memory chips right now across the board, be it your PC memory, phone and tablet memory, everything, laptops, GPUs, everything. It's just such a high demand, especially on Apple's end. And in conjunction with that, there was a factory that I can't remember which one it is, but there was a factory that closed down because of a natural disaster or got damaged, and that really impacted a memory. I believe it was in Taiwan, but I can't remember entirely. So yeah, so as we see this on, mobile is sucking up all the DRAM argument. This, yeah, seems weak apparently, but that's you can't entirely blame it on that, but I would say that's definitely part of it. But there just seems to be a lot of things going, and DDR3's prices have also been going up quite a bit now. So it seems like it's just there's way too much demand right now. There's way too many things wanting it, and that is causing this DRAM problem. But that also feeds into the was this another one? Yeah, well, this is Samsung making a fortune as well through the memory boom, which has been making them a lot of money, which also, you know, raises the thing of, is there funny business going on? It could be, maybe not. But I mean, Samsung produces a lot of memory chips, so they're obviously going to be making the most money out of it in terms of the shortage. So here was an article about the Bitcoin mania is hurting PC gamers for pushing up GPU prices. So we know that the memory prices have been going up for a variety of factors. The fact that lots of devices are now using them, the you know, there's been production difficulties, and so the demand is much higher than the supply, which is driving up the prices then. Now that also feeds into the GPU prices in the sense that it's going to cost more to make your GPUs because the memory prices are going up so much now, and that's affecting it too. So that's not a good thing either. That's also adding to the fact that the GPUs are going up, and because people are buying up GPUs like crazy, they're obviously trying to produce as many as they can, get their hands on as many of these like GDDR5 chips that they can. And that's driving it up as well. So it's kind of like a big macro thing that you need to think about in terms of the economics of it. Like, it's just a huge supply and demand issue within the industry. There is just so much demand right now for these memory chips, and it's just completely making it impossible for companies to obviously get them at a decent price, even the GPU manufacturers, I would say. So the GPU prices have risen a lot for that reason. There's huge supply. Most of them are sold out very, very quickly, and there's the memory issues which are driving up GPU prices as well, and it's all sort of feeding into this one big kind of problem with the industry, one might say. Supply and demand problem. So what is there to do about this really? Well, you have to think about how it works. So most companies will buy, you go to buy your GPU. Let's say you want to buy a GTX 1070. Let's say it's a gigabyte one, a G1 Gaming, the popular graphics card. So obviously Gigabyte gets, you know, that they have their GPU gets built, you know, at the factory. That usually gets shipped then to a distributor. So the distributor will buy the GPU. So they may buy a large amount of them, you know, 500, 1,000, you know, a huge quantity of these graphics cards if they can. And then the distributor will then sell the cards to the different retailers, because of course the more you buy of something, generally the cheaper you can get it for. And the retailers themselves, especially smaller ones, may not financially be able to hold that much stock. It's not like they can buy 500 graphics cards at a time, especially just one specific graphics card. So they usually will go to the distributors first. What this means is that you have the GPUs, the distributors buying them for X amount of money, and then they, you know, take their cut when they sell it to the retailers, so their profit. And what's happening, a lot of people think, is that the prices are going up because everyone's cashing in, basically. You know, maybe they're selling them, the factory, the board partner is selling them to the distributors for a higher price. They could say, you know, memory price has gone up, so the cost comes up. And then the distributors then are taking a bigger cut when they sell them to the retailers, and the retailers may be jacking up prices as well. And it's just this lead-on effect. I would highly doubt that it's the same price the whole way through, and it's just the retailers that are gouging the prices. I would say it's more likely that sort of an effect on the industry. So what is there to really do about it? And this is something that a lot of people have talked about, how you can fix this problem. And there are certain things that could be done. I would say, considering this is interesting that it was Micro Center, since they've been the ones in the news a lot. They've been the one in the news a lot for getting in trouble for the price, jacking up the prices so high. So Nvidia advised limiting sales of any individual model of graphics card to 2 per customer at a maximum, preventing bulk buying by miners. And Micro Center is doing this, as Tom's Hardware reports, as well as offering discounts for those buying a bundle of components in store. Okay, so I see why they're doing this. The reason why is generally because miners are just buying the graphics cards, they're not buying all the other stuff. The board partners especially would much prefer it if you were buying the graphics card, the motherboard, the power supply, whatever, all their stuff together. Maybe their peripherals and stuff as well. Maybe if they sell like Asus, keyboards and mice and stuff as well, they would prefer you to be buying all that stuff, all the gamery stuff, rather than just the one product, the GPU. So I see this. But this idea of limiting 2 per customer at a maximum, think about how easy that is to get around. Sure, if it's a miner that's going absolutely crazy wanting to buy 50 or something, that will, maybe impact them. But if it's just, I would say the average miner right now would probably be buying between 4 and 8 GPUs for a mining rig. So maybe 6 GTX 1070s or 6 GTX 1060s is quite a popular amount, sometimes 8. So you think 2 per customer. Okay, so what are they going to do there? They're just going to get, say, they're going to go to the store and bring 2 friends, leave them out in the car and give them the money or something, maybe even give them their card if they do it. They go in, buy 2, come out, give them their card, the person goes in, buys 2, and they give it to the other person, buys 2. There, you got 6. It won't do anything. It really won't. Even if you were doing it, if you were saying that it was only for, or you were doing this for online sales as well, people could get around it the same way. So I don't see this doing anything. Honestly, I just think it was Micro Center getting in trouble, and this is kind of like a PR move to make them seem like they're doing something so that gamers will be a bit more forgiving to them. Personally, I don't think it would do anything. So I really don't see that being something that could do. You'll see a lot of places that are selling multiple graphics cards as one kind of big thing. You could buy 8 of them together or something like that. And someone in the chat was saying Newegg was selling 6 packs of cards. Yeah, so that is happening. I really don't see this being the case. I would say the better way to do it, if you are if for retailers, would be to try to so when you buy a full system off a company, custom PC, they're fully built for you. Generally, because you will need to pay for labor and there's a bit of a price premium on it because obviously they build it for you, usually get a warranty on the entire system, which is quite good. And because of those reasons, the GPU will be pretty close to retail pricing. So that's what I would say is probably the better thing to do right now for some people out there. Instead of, obviously it's not going to be the people that just want to upgrade GPU, that won't be helpful, but people that were thinking, oh, I'll do a full rig upgrade. That could be the way to go, is buying just a custom computer. Sure, you don't get to build it yourself, and a lot of people like that, but you will generally get a much better deal then than if you went out to buy the memory, buy the parts individually, as well as the memory pricing as well in the pre-built system should be a bit more standard. If people are asking how that's possible, so because they'll charge you for the labor, they will also charge you like a fee on top of it, just for, you know, the fact that they built it or something, or they'll say, you know, this was like the expert setup or whatever, blah blah blah. And so generally, if they were, I don't want to use the word price gouging, but if they were inflating their GPU prices and that, they for individual sales on their pre-built systems to keep them remaining competitive with other companies which are selling pre-built systems, you may see them backing off those prices or that, because they're making up the money and maybe a bit more on the labor and everything else. So ultimately, it may work out, but instead of you just buying the GPU and paying the premium, you're getting a whole system for that, and most of the time they're quite expertly built and stuff, and you get a whole warranty on them as well. So that can be a good way to do it. Obviously, it's not ideal, and we'd just rather be able to do things the way it used to be, and you just buy them all. But yeah, I think it's a difficult thing right now, and a lot of people aren't really sure of what to do with it. So if we look at the GPU pricing, this was an article I brought up. Graphics cards then and now. So you see the G1 Gaming GTX 1050. So this one would have moved a little bit, but not too much. So they're saying it went for £120 in April 2017. Now it's at 146. So it's gone up £26. The 570, now this one would have jumped up a bit. Okay, yeah, so the original price was £180, but now it's £244. So you would see that's jumped up quite a bit, £64. 35% increase there, 35.6 increase. The 1060, okay, that's quite interesting. £324 before, and now at 360, so it's only gone up 10%. That's interesting. I thought these 1060s would have gone up a bit more than that, just 10%, 10.6%. RX 580 now, this would have gone up big time, and yeah, we see that 42.1%. So it's £258 before, now it's 366. That is a pretty incredible jump up if I ever saw one. That is a huge jump up. GTX 1080, wow, that's even jumped up too, from 544 to £679, 680. So it's gone up 24.7. Vega 64. I mean, you're never gonna get this model anyway. Steve made a great video the other day talking about just this, the fact that these non-reference Vega GPUs, the 56 and 64, are just impossible to get, and the fact that he thought the whole hypothesis for his video was that, his theory was that he thinks that AMD's basically stopped supplying them, or things he's heard is that they've stopped supplying them to the board partners, and instead they're focusing on just the Frontier editions, because we have the 1080 Ti, which has gone up 19.2%. So we're seeing that's quite a big jump up there. Yeah, the AMD cards generally do mine better, but that is the biggest increase out of the lot. The 42% of the RX 580, and they have just gone up exponentially in price. So I would say the shortage issue is the best thing that people could do. Obviously, limiting them per customer sounds like it would help, but I think that it's pretty easy to get around it. At the end of the day, the retailers are making good money out of it. So they're obviously going to just... They're making such good money out of it that they wouldn't... they don't want to hurt it that much because they're making such good profits. At the same time, of the retailers I have spoken to in New Zealand, I've asked them about it, about their pricing and things like that. And basically, the standard reply I got from the different ones, I'm not going to name names, was that they're not actively giving miners big discounts. That's something they all wanted to really point out, the ones I spoke to, was that they weren't actively giving discounts to people buying multiple graphics cards, because that's something I've seen a lot of people talk about, that they're miners coming in to buy 8 graphics cards, and they go, oh yeah, we'll give you a real good deal on that because you're buying 8. That's something that apparently hasn't been happening, at least here. I've been told anyway. So yeah, that trying to solve this on the retail end is never going to work, because everyone's in the business of making money, right? But the retailers are not going to limit something that they're making such good profits on right now. They just aren't, guys. It's as simple as that. And I think the only way we're ever going to see this come right is if we go right back to the factories and the supply starts meeting the demand, that the supply is amped up enough. Now, the board partners themselves are a bit wary about this, for the simple fact that they don't want to ramp up their production lines for these cards only to have the whole mining boom explode, and then suddenly the market's oversaturated and they can't move the cards. They've got way too much production they've got way too much supply for the demand, and that hurts their business. Obviously, if they can't move the graphics cards, they're not making money. If they're not selling them, the distributors aren't grabbing them. So I can understand why they're a bit apprehensive about it, but that's really the only thing. The memory issue looks like it's gonna be solved. From the articles I've read, that looks like that will be coming right towards Q4 of this year. We will see memory prices starting to stabilize and come back into line. I think that will also help stabilize the GPU prices if they're still crazy at that time. A little bit, not to a huge degree, but maybe a little bit it will. So I think that would help too. But it really just comes back to pure and simple supply and demand. There's just not enough GPUs out there right now. As we said earlier, there's a myriad of reasons of why the supply can't meet the demand, but at the end of the day, that's really where it's only going to be fixed. And Micro Center limiting 2 GPUs per card and all these other things, they're just band-aids on the problem. They're not even a band-aid. They're just an imaginary band-aid. It's just a fake band-aid, because all they're doing is just saying, oh, look guys, we're cool. We're actually trying to help you guys, the gamers, get these PC parts. But realistically, they're making a fortune anyway, so they don't really care. Obviously, 2 customers, yeah, the people that want to come in and buy like 50 graphics cards, that might be an issue. But the other thing is this, unless people will just go to different stores as well. They'll just go from one store to another one to another one to another one. If anything, they would just not go to Micro Center, and they may just go to another store instead, which they can bulk buy from. So I really don't see this as being a good fix for it. I don't think it will do anything. But that's just my opinion on this, guys. So let's have a chat now. And I want to know what you guys think about this whole thing, about the pricing, how you think, it could be fixed. And I see a lot of people saying that, the mining is all pointless. Not all of it is. To play devil's advocate, not all of it is. There's ones like this one called Gridcoin. Basically, well, I'll let you read it here. So Gridcoin, open source cryptocurrency, rewards volunteer computing performed on the Bionic platform, decentralized manner, proof of stake. It's basically you're helping, as far as I know, the easy way to understand this is that it's like helping doing scientific equations or something like that through distributed computing. Volunteer computing power to attempt to cure cancer, Ebola, malaria, map the Milky Way, galaxy, cracking machine codes, blah, blah, blah. So things like that. It's basically harnessing computer power for something that's actually good. So that's a good thing. But yeah, if you guys have any ideas or any questions for me, I just wanted to have a discussion anyways while I'm live here. So if you have any other questions, we can go through them. I need 2 more 1080s. Okay. Yeah, I would have thought the 1060 was a much. I mean, the people I know that have gotten into mining now recently have mostly been going for GTX 1070s. But a few have gone for GTX 1060s as well. A 6 GTX 1060 mining rig seems to be quite popular because it's not such a huge amount of money. But yeah, I can see why people are getting on it, honestly. Like, to I know you guys that are gamers are fed up with it and you're very upset about it, but you have to look at it from the other side as well. Of that, there's people that are making good money out of this, and so more and more people are going to get on it because they see it as a good way to make money, a good investment on their money, where you get returns much better than what you could get in the stock market or with other investments. I don't understand why there are so many different currencies. If there was just Bitcoin, it would price correct. I think it's because you can, I guess. They just see it as, why not? I mean, there's all the meme ones as well, like Garlic Coin and Doge Coin and all the rest of it. I just see it as, if they can, they will, and so that's just it. People are having fun with it. People are, there's all these different currencies, and people like these newer ones. A lot of times they can get in on it because there's the difficulty to mine certain ones, like say Ethereum right now is quite high. So when you're actually mining, you only get say point, 0 something. Whereas with these new ones, they're actually quite easy to mine, so you can actually get a lot of, so what Brian was talking about, he didn't like seeing it being just a like a decimal point of something. So you guys, just let me know if you have any questions or anything you wanted to talk about. Please don't hate me, but I have a lab of 28 machines. I'm considering polling the machines with 1060, the way the cards pay for themselves. Okay, interesting. I looked at the 1060, but it's only about 2 to 5% faster than my OC 290. I'm just going to have to keep it a little longer. Hell, it's 5 years old now. Yeah, I mean, but that's probably true in terms of performance, but boy, the 290 will be using a lot more power than a 1060, that's for sure. It is because of the value of newer currencies and making places exchange for them. Yeah. I mean, that's what I see it as well. I mean, people have been saying that they can't wait for the bubble to burst with cryptocurrencies. But I mean, what, Bitcoin's been going for like 9 years now, has it? It's been going for a while. And it's still going. I mean, it's been wild, that's for sure, but it's still going. Yeah. All the Fury cards are being bought up by miners because they just love them. So I would say that would not be something you get. I would say for if you're a gamer right now and you're looking to buy a GPU, you don't mind buying a used graphics card as well. I would say look for the cards that the miners don't want. I would say mainly look at like the 900 series from Nvidia. That would be a good place to look. Things like the GTX 980 or the 980 Ti, depending on what you have right now, can be a good upgrade. Remember that a GTX 980 Ti is only slightly slower than a GTX 1070. Granted, it will use more power, doesn't have quite as much memory and things, but it's a good choice, and they can be had for a lot cheaper on the used parts market than other things out there right now. So that can be a good one. I don't have to pay for heating when my 290 is running. Yeah, that's for sure. I used to have the reference 290X in my personal rig years ago when I started Tech Showdown, and that was a funny that thing in winter, boy, that heat up things. The Tech Lounge will return with Brian, Easy, and Steve. I'm not sure. I haven't really spoke to Brian about it. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what will happen with it. If I like doing the stream like this, I mean, you guys like it, I might bring Steve in on it and do, you know, something like this maybe every once a month or something with Steve and Brian if he wants to. I'll just see what happens. I just want to do this one as a bit of a test to see how it all turned out. As far as everything I can see, I mean, it looks good. I was a bit wary of the quality because my internet's not that good. I think it's decent, but it's not super good. But it seems fine to me. 1050 Ti should do 13 to 15 millihash. Yeah. I would love a 980 Ti right now. I'm surprised they aren't more expensive. Just people holding on to them. I think that, but it's also because the miners don't want them, so you can pick them up for a bit cheaper, which is a good deal. How's the Auckland weather for you? It's been really hot lately. Really, really hot. I spoke to my friend last night who lives in New York, and he was saying for him it was about minus 2 or 3 degrees Celsius, and that was sort of in the morning, mid-morning time, but for me it was like midnight and it was still 21 degrees Celsius. So yeah, was wondering why Brian yourself not stream. Was it because he was busy with his new studio? Yeah, so that was mainly it. Brian was getting really busy with things, and he was just like, hey, like, you know, this is cutting into my time quite a bit. Obviously he asked me to come on the Tech Lounge. The Tech Lounge was his idea and everything, but yeah, he just got quite busy with other things, and then that's basically how it turned out. But it's fine. It could come back. It wasn't because of anything between me and Brian. We get along really, really well, so it's not an issue. Would going from a 390X to a 980 Ti be noticeable worth it? Yeah, I would say that would. I mean, you're probably going to see the power consumption will be a little bit less than the 980 Ti, but you'll get a bit better performance out of it. You actually go down in memory, I believe, because 980 Ti 6 gigs on a 382-bit bus, if my memory serves me right, GDDR5. So yeah, you go down a little bit, but yeah, I mean that would be okay. I wouldn't call it a huge upgrade, but it would still be an upgrade. Yep. Our NZ internet will be better than Steve's. Brian's NBN is an absolute joke. Yeah. So I'm waiting right now to get my fiber done. It's just taking forever. There's all these consents and other things that are just holding up the show big time. But once I do have it, I will be getting 950 down and 500 up, as opposed to what I have right now, which is about 45 down and like 10 up. So that'll be a lot better. Probably be able to OC the 1080 Ti a bit with a, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really good models. I ran the Asus Strix, the triple fan. Was it the DC3? 980 Ti. I ran that as my personal GPU for quite a while, and that was a great graphics card. Really, really good. I made a lot of videos with it. Actually, the video I did, the 980 Ti versus GTX 1070 video, that was with the 980 Ti. That was before I switched over to the GTX 1080. What is an engineering sample CPU? Okay, so an engineering sample is, I don't have one here right now. I will have one soon. basically what an engineering sample is they're ones that are sent by the company themselves, either AMD or Intel directly. Not always. You can get them from board partners as well if they send them to you with a motherboard. But you can generally tell because on it won't have the markings like normal, and it'll just say like Intel Confidential or something on the CPU. And they're basically pre-production, non-retail CPUs. Generally, the ones us reviewers get will be a bit more cherry-picked, but that's not always the case. It can sometimes be useful, but yeah. So that's an engineering sample. It's just basically, it's another way of saying prototype's not the right word, but it's like a pre-production kind of model. Been watching you for a couple of years and really enjoy it. What is the significance of Teddy? My brother gave him to me, and my brother lives overseas, and I never get to see him, so I keep Teddy on with me because it's like making videos with my brother, and I don't get to see him very often anymore. So it's like having him with me, because when we were young, me and him would always make videos together, but now I don't get to, so I have Teddy here instead. Wow, you're doing fine without fiber. Yeah, it'd be good. I don't know when it'll come in though. It could take some time. So yeah, 900 down, 400 up. Yeah, it'd be really good. I mean, just make sure you're getting a router that can flow it as well. Usually they'll supply one, but if you're not, yeah. If you get sent engineering samples, yeah. So I've been sent them before. You'll see in some of my CPU showdowns, they will be, they'll say confidential on it. So that's how it is. I'm getting sent one right now, but that is for my personal rig update video, which will be coming out probably within the next week, maybe week and a bit, and that's going to be an interesting video. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but yeah, it's something I've been wanting to do for a while. I talked a bit about it on Twitter, so a lot of you guys will probably understand where I'm coming from when I do that, when I reveal what I'm changing to. I just think, yeah, that I think a lot of you guys will understand why I'm doing it once I actually put the video up. Not even fiber here. ISP are too cheap to upgrade to fiber in the city. They bring it close enough but not to your home. Only small city around here. Yeah. Do you need to send extensive system configuration reports back to Intel, etc.? No. With the ones I've had in the past, they will just send me out the engineering sample. I make my showdown with it. So take, for example, the 7900X, that was an engineering sample. I make the video with it, and then I had to send it back. Not always. You see people like Brian and Steve, they get to keep their engineering samples, but my channel's obviously a lot smaller. I don't have such a massive audience, so I have to send them back sometimes unless I specifically ask to be able to keep them, which I don't often do. But sometimes I do, depending on if I want it for my personal rig or something. So you guys, if you have any other questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I think that'll be my dash. So if you have any tech related questions, let me know. Kev, would you consider a Auckland catch up for fans? Probably not, to be honest, because there's not really that many of you guys around. So it would only be like a handful of guys. So I mean, I like doing things like this instead because I get to discuss things with all of you. My New Zealand makeup of the channel is very small. Americans are by far the largest group of my audience by a huge amount as well. So guys, I hope you've been sort of surviving lately with all the GPU prices and all the other trouble that everyone's been going through lately. Um, yeah, I just wanted to stream just to have a bit of fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you understand that these are some pretty big issues going on within the industry right now. And I mean, there may be things we don't know going on behind the scenes. I would imagine there probably are. Especially when there's big money involved, there can often be things going on behind the scenes that are not ideal for us consumers, secret deals and things like that. You should get a Streamlabs account. Any great deals you've seen on NZ pre-builts then? Well, I mean, I'm going to sound biased for saying this, but you can always hit up Playtech, and they build really solid pre-built systems. Now, I'm not saying that just because I'm sponsored by them. It's because I've actually seen how they built it, because I've tested the systems, and I saw them build them for me in person, So I actually saw how they build them. Now, I built a lot of systems, so when someone else builds a system for me, I'm always kind of looking to see what they do wrong. And trust me, they know what they're doing. They're really, really good at it. So I would trust them 100%. And you can also ask them to pre-overclock it and do other cool things like that. If you maybe don't feel that confident about overclocking it, or you want someone who really knows their stuff, the guy that does the overclocking at Playtech really knows his stuff. So you can get them to do that stuff as well. But of course, I think that impacts the warranty a little bit, but you can talk to them about that sort of thing. So I would say check out Playtech. There's quite a few good deals there right now. I mean, the GPU stuff is a bit wild in the memory, but the CPU market's actually really good right now. The same with motherboards for the most part. The Titan V has some really good mining results. I'm wondering if it would be the same thing happen to Vega. It's nowhere close from everything I've read. So on a Titan V, you'll be getting up to like 90 megahashes on Ethereum, I believe, which is just crazy. Where even like the Vega Frontier Edition, I believe, goes up to about 38 or something. So it's a huge difference. But then again, I mean, are you really going to drop? Think, if you're getting up to 90 with the Titan V, but it costs you like $3,000 US, is it really worth it? You could probably buy 3,000 current pricing. So what would that be in New Zealand? It'd be about three and a half grand New Zealand at a minimum. So I mean, you could buy for, I mean, you could buy you could almost buy like 6 GTX 1060s for that much. In which case that would be hashing from memory maybe 130 or something. So maybe a little bit higher than that, depending on overclocks and that. So that's, that's quite crazy. Oh, you're meaning they're gonna get sold out? I don't know. I mean, with that price tag, who knows? But yeah, it's a lot of money. The Titan V. I mean, I kind of went there as a thought. I flirted with the idea. I thought, well, maybe if I get a Titan V and put it in my rig, and then because it's so good for mining, I can just do it a bit on the side, just a bit of fun. But then the price is so staggering, and what a lot of the miners look for is how quickly they can pay off the graphics cards usually, how long it takes them through mining to pay them all off. And the Titan V takes a very long time compared to other things. I think the quickest to pay off, I think, are at 1060s, I believe. Yeah, and also you can sell things like the 1060 much, much easier. I mean, there's, the Titan V is going to be very difficult to sell or you'll probably take a big loss on it if you try to sell it. Yeah, there is no fix unless Samsung or Nvidia start making mining specific gear that costs less than current GPUs and perform better. Yeah, I could see that. We have seen that a little bit, them releasing graphics cards with no or only one port out the back, like a single DVI-D or a single display port or something like that. So, yeah, but then again, I'm not sure the miners would buy it. Even if they did a bit better in terms of pure mining, I think they would maybe be a bit wary, because if the market crashed, they would see it as very hard to sell those cards. So they'd much rather just use gamers cards. Do you remember the specs of your very first gaming PC? I kind of do. It was back when I was 15 or 16, so it was a Core 2 Duo. I can't remember. I think it was the 2.1 gigahertz one. I can't remember. Was a GT 8600 GT, I believe. 9600 GT, either or. I can't quite remember. I'd have to go back. I did take photos of it back then, so I could probably find a picture and figure out, but off the top of my head, it was something like that. It's like an 86 on 9600 GT Nvidia card. I think I maybe had like 4 or 8 gigabytes of memory. I can't even remember. Just a single HDD, like a 1 TB HDD. And I had the case was, I can't remember the type, but it was all these lights and everything. And there's like a thing I saw a while ago, like a meme, and it's like your first gaming PC, and there's like all these lights and all this stuff all over it, and it's very bright. And then it says your second gaming PC, and there's like no lights on it. And that was exactly me. I had like all these fancy, like all this lighting all over it, all this red lighting, and then I was just after my next PC after that, I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. Why should they change anything? They make some money now. Yeah, that's the whole point. That's what the point of the stream was. I know I did a little bit of a clickbaity title, but it was because I just had to think up something to put the title on, so I just did that. But yeah, why? Everyone's making the board partners are making money, distributors making money, retailers are making money, everyone's making money, miners are making money, generally speaking. So everyone's doing well out of it, for the most part, in terms of money. So they're just gonna be just fine for you know, they got no real reason to try to stop it just because PC gamers are getting grumpy that they can't get the GPUs. For the most part, they're just gonna say, hey, well, you know, that's the free market. You guys are just gonna need to pay more if you want the GPU. That's like everybody else. Looking to buy a GTX 780 that powers on but no display output faulty. Is it worth... Oh yeah, is it worth to use it as a second card in SLI? I guess you could. But, yeah. I guess so. But then again, if you try to sell it or anything, it's not going to be very easy. So unless you get it very, very cheap, and just keep it, you know, just throw it away when you're done, more or less. At this point, I hate to say it, I need a new PC workstation. I would just buy a custom rig. As a pro creates content, I don't have time to hunt for parts. Well, that also depends on what sort of things you're doing. Because if you're just doing rendering and things like that, you don't need a particularly powerful GPU. You're going to be more reliant on the CPU. So you shouldn't be at too much of a disadvantage then. Just get something like a Threadripper. That's if you want to go real high, and even something like a Ryzen 1700 should do very good. Damn, you're younger than me. I still remember my AMD K6. Wow. Yeah, I'm only 27. I'm not super old. I've been in doing tech now for about 12 years. Been in PC tech for about 12 years. my first PC, well, my first PC was a Pentium 233 MMX. No idea what video card. Nice. Doom on the college LAN. Yeah, there's a lot of I remember the main game. I mean, I played a lot of Counter-Strike and stuff back then, so that was a big one for me. Day of Defeat used to be quite popular, so that was a fun one. Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot that a lot of things have changed over the years. That's for sure. I remember my screen looking back when I have pictures of my old system. You guys might have seen this as well. If you took pictures of your systems back then, and the screens will look so small compared to what we have now, since most of us are running quite large displays. My personal display is a 28-inch 4K, so but yeah. Alright guys, well, I might start winding down the stream now, so if you had any other burning questions you had for me, maybe anything you're wondering about, you know, things you're considering upgrading, anything like that, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to call it a day. But I hope this has been interesting to you guys, just to have a bit of a talk about it and this whole thing. People have asked if I'm going to get into mining. To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure. I see it as potentially a good way to make some money, which is not an evil thing at the end of the day, considering that I'll most likely dump that money back into Tech Showdown to make the channel better, buy more stuff, get better equipment. I'm certainly looking to upgrade my camera. So that will be something I'm considering, but I'm not 100% sure right now about it. Not because it's an unpopular thing, you know, that I'm worried about backlash. I'm just still a little bit skeptical about it, especially since if I'm gonna put $4,000 or $5,000 into a mining rig, you know, that money takes me a while to get back. I am a full-time YouTuber who doesn't necessarily rely very much on the viewers. I'm not constantly telling guys to help me out on Patreon. I'm not constantly doing anything because I don't like doing that sort of thing. I put the link, you know, every so often in the description of a video, but for the most part, I never do anything like that. I just I just, you know, to do my own thing, and try make ends meet. But luckily I've got a very good situation where I'm living. If you mind, you reset coin. Yeah. I was thinking about that as well. Yeah, I mean, energy costs, like power costs in New Zealand, can be a little bit on the pricey side, so it's maybe not ideal, but yeah, we'll see. I might see in the future. I've seen some tech YouTubers do quite a bit of like mining related content and generally do quite well, but considering most of you guys, my core audience, like gaming, PC enthusiasts, I'm not sure if that, you know, if people would be that interested. If a person mentions you at Playtech, makes purchase, get a kickback. What you can do, head over to my channel and go on to the About page. You'll see down the bottom there's a code. I think it's like Playtech, like PT VIP, like Playtech VIP Tech Showdown or something like that. If you take that code and when you go to check out on Playtech store, if you put that in, there's like a coupon code area, a discount code area in your checkout, the checkout part of their website, and then you put that code in there and that will give you a discount. It depends on what the product is, how much the discount is, but it generally will knock off things like the cost of GST. Sometimes it just depends. So maybe it knocks off like 15%, but it just depends on what you're buying. So that's good. And you also support me, not because that gives me money. It's just that it shows Playtech that, you guys are using the code. Obviously, you're shopping there. You're coming from Tech Showdown to buy stuff, so it keeps me in their good graces, and that means they're more willing to provide me with lots of parts to keep the channel going and things like that. I still have never accepted any money in regards to this channel to do reviews or anything like that in the entirety of Tech Showdown from any company. Intel, AMD, Nvidia, Playtech, retailers, from anybody. There hasn't been any money going anywhere. That's just not how I do things. You can tell because look through my channel and see how many times I've blasted products. Like when I dislike something, I really go on about it and how bad it is. And you'll see in those videos, heaps of people dislike the video because I hate it when I do a negative review on something, but I really do, latch onto things when I hate them. So I don't want to be indebted to any company because I would just rather say, hey, this sucks, pure and simple. I've been a very vocal critic, even though I'm running Threadripper right now, about the issues I've been having with it. My X399 is a mess video. People went nuts at me about that because they saw me as like attacking AMD, even though I was on the I converted to the platform itself. They still attacked me for it, saying I was like an Intel shell and stuff. And I was just saying, no, Threadripper's great, but guys, you can't just completely bury your head in the sand and say, no, Threadripper's perfect. There's no problems with it. No, because there is. I had the same problem with the X99. That was a mess as well. So I'm not just picking on AMD. But people, there's no point being a fanboy. I'm not about anything. And that's because the companies don't care about you. Intel doesn't care. It's $1 billion company. They don't care in the slightest that you're a huge Intel fanboy. They don't care about you. Pure and simple. They just don't care. You're just a way for them to make money. Same with AMD. Same for Nvidia. They don't care about you. They just want to make money. So they make products which consumers will buy so that they can make money. That's all there is to it. There's no point being a fanboy. Just care about what's good. There's good CPUs, there's bad CPUs. There's good value, there's bad value CPUs. There's that goes for everything. Just buy what's good. And that's what I say. Who cares if it's Intel? Who cares if it's AMD? Who cares if it's Nvidia? If it's good, it's good. If it's good value, it's good value. Buy that. And that's the thing. Hi Kev, do you think RAM prices will get worse before they get better? Not sure if I should wait. Love Teddy. He needs a bigger role in the channel. Yeah. I'm not sure. I would say at the current rate of things, I would imagine they will keep going up. I would be surprised if they stabilize anytime soon. I would imagine by Q3 we will start to see them stabilize, and then towards Q4 they definitely should be starting to stabilize, definitely by Q4. That does not mean that they will come down. I'm just meaning they will flatten by that point, I would imagine. I think there will still be this slow creeping effect with memory right now, but that may start to taper out at about the start of Q3, and it may just start flattening out from there, and then maybe you see a trickle down at the end of Q4. Yeah, even Wendell at once says Threadripper has real issues. Yeah, Wendell's great. I love talking to Wendell. Me and him talk on Skype sometimes, and he's super smart. He really knows his stuff. And yeah, I find Wendell is, I mean, like Steve and Brian both keep it real, but so does Wendell big time. Like Wendell is he just tells it how it is. He knows his stuff, and people really believe him when he says things. So that's good, because he does know his stuff. Are you interested in doing a video on the differences in NVIDIA versus AMD software and its effects on user experience? Probably, I mean, I could, but, I mean, would you guys really be that interested? I'm pretty sure most of you guys know the different softwares between them. NVIDIA does have a real edge there in the sense of, like, GeForce experience it can be quite annoying. There are some good things in it. But, you know, AMD has the advantages in other areas, mainly FreeSync is the big one. Yeah, they love fanboys, as you give them free word of mouth advertising, it's still struggled in retailing educated people AMD processors over Intel. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, I could see that the companies like the fanboys because maybe it converts more people to buy their product. I'm just meaning as individuals, they just don't really care about you. Like, these are massive companies, so they just won't care. That was my main point I was trying to make there. There's no point caring about it. It's you'll find the relationship to be very one-sided. That's for sure. You'll be giving Intel tons of love or AMD tons of love and not going to get much back. That's for sure. So there's not much point in doing it. I'm not saying you can't recommend a good CPU if there is one. Things like the 1600, obviously, I've recommended in depth, and the Intel 8400 has also been a very good CPU. I definitely do that. But you don't just attack other people just because they don't like the brand you like or something. You got to open up your mind, be open to new ideas, and things like that. That goes for everything in life. You shouldn't just lock yourself into your prison of ideas and feel like personally attacked if somebody, disagrees with you on them. I think that's stupid. Haswell at 4.5 gigahertz on water, no more than 70 degrees Celsius, 1.3 volts at first. Now it can only do 4.4 gigahertz. 18 months around fine at 4.5. Is this degradation? How long does it take to degrade a CPU? Yeah, it might be that. Yeah. My 4770K, should say, that ran at like when I first got it, that ran at like 4.6 gigahertz for a while. And when I would render and stuff, that thing would get hot. I mean, you guys remember they would get really, really hot. And the Haswell CPUs, and it would go up to like nearly 90 degrees Celsius when I was rendering, when it was on 100% load. That was with a 280 millimeter liquid cooler, my H110 back then. And after about a year of that, it started getting unstable. So I dropped it down to 4.4 gigahertz just to keep things stable. And then I maybe 6 months later, I thought, oh, what the hell, we'll try to go back up to 4.6 gigahertz, and it just wouldn't happen at all. There was no chance of it happening. So as far as the time frame of how it degrades, I can't really tell you that. I think it's on a sort of individual basis based on how hot it's been running, how high you've had overclock voltages, all this other stuff feeds into it. But you will generally see that over time, especially if it's got a very high overclock or it's been running very hot, like was the case with my 4770K. It wasn't running particularly high voltage, but it was running high heat because, as you guys know, if you didn't delid them, they were very hard to keep cool. Alright, guys. It requires 1.39 volts now. I said forget it, just left to 4.4 gigahertz. 1.3 volts is good. Getting it to 1.4 is dangerous. I wouldn't say dangerous, but that's getting up there. Generally speaking, with CPUs, 1.5 and up is where you start getting into danger territory. That's a general rule across the board. But 1.4, you're getting up high. I mean, generally for overclocking, you want between 1.3 and 1.4. Somewhere in there is usually a good amount. If you can stay even less than 1.3, that's great. But that's generally, if you want to go for quite a decent overclock, that's where you'd go. In my side grade, I bought a i7 3770K for $200 New Zealand. What's your experience been with that chip? I never tried it out. When Tech Showdown started, I believe I was I can't remember what. I think I was already on my 4770K, so that was a bit after I started this channel. I can't really remember, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I never tested a 3770K. But it's, they're fine. from everything I've read in the past. And of course I still kept up with tech heavily before I started the channel. Yeah. Alright guys, so I hope you have enjoyed this stream, my first one by myself. We talked about, you know, mining and GPU prices and memory prices and everything to do with it. So I hope you enjoyed. Done a bit of a Q&A now, so I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you all for joining me this time. I will probably do something like this in the future again. Maybe we'll get Steve on and Brian on, and maybe get Wendell on. That'd be a lot of fun. I'll talk to Wendell about coming on and doing a stream with me at some point. I do really enjoy talking to him, and he's a very fun person to just discuss things with. He's very, very smart with this stuff. A lot smarter. He'd probably be the smartest person that's a tech reviewer on YouTube out of us main ones anyway. Definitely he's a very, very smart guy, so he's really good. And if you're watching this video later on YouTube, let me know in the comment section down below if you enjoyed it and what your thoughts are on all the, you know, mining, GPU prices and all of that. I want the comment section to also be a discussion. So yeah, and I thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all next time.